What's going on, Potterheads? Welcome back to All the Things Harry Potter. I'm Nate, and I'm hanging out in the studio with Jade.
Hey!
And this is an episode that we recorded while it was very late and without notes. And we thought we could wing it because it was about a character that we really, really love. And as it turns out, we cannot. But we got through the chapter anyway. It was still fun. We just may sound a little tired.
We didn't have any extra points written down in front of us for this chapter, so it may be a little reedy.
But still fun. So this is Jade and I with James and Chantel talking about Chapter 4, The Keeper of the Keys.
Enjoy!
We're back again. Chapter 4, The Keeper of Keys. We're drinking tonight. Sweet Revenge. I believe that's what we had the last time.
Yep.
Still from the same person, St. Julian.
Yep.
It's pretty good stuff.
Boom!
That's how it's done, folks. Just like that.
And also, boom, they knocked again. How the chapter starts.
Oh.
It literally starts with the word boom.
Look at you with the segue. Job, babe.
And Dudley thought there was a cannon.
A cannon?
Yeah, he jerked awake stupidly.
Dudley wakes up and asks stupidly, "Where's the cannon?"
So it's a loud boom. I know, stating the obvious here.
Then Uncle Vernon comes in the room with his rifle. Now we know what he got.
In that package.
But yeah, who's there? I warn you, I'm armed. There was a pause, then smash! The door was hit with such force that it swung clean off its hinges and with a deafening crash, landed flat on the floor. A giant of the man was standing in the doorway. His face was almost completely hidden by a long, shaggy mane of hair and a wild, tangled beard, but you could make out his eyes glinting like black beetles under all his hair.
My dude, Hagrid. He always shows up in the most badass of ways.
I always liked the way they described his eyes like beetles.
In the beginning, coming in hot on a motorcycle. Now he's crashing down a door. The man makes an entrance. We can't not point that out. He makes an entrance.
He was a giant of a man. His head just, brushed the ceiling, too, by the way. I mean, we've discussed this before. He is a large dude.
Twice as tall as a regular guy. He's inside of a room now, so that's gotta be hard to do.
Right.
And we did get the feel this is a hut. This isn't like a finished home. So the ceiling of this hut, I'm assuming is the roof. You're not getting attic area up there. There's not an upper level. His head is brushing the roof.
There's no cathedral ceilings going on here. This is a small space.
He turns to him. Couldn't make a cup of tea, could ya? Not been an easy journey. And Mr. Dursley has a gun pointed at him.
And he's just nonchalantly asking for a cup of tea.
Has he noticed the gun when he says that?
I don't think he makes any type of... He's not intimidated at all. He walks up, he shoves Dudley out of the way on the couch, sits down, says, "Hey, Harry, last time I saw you, you were a baby," and tells Vernon to shut up. Because Vernon's yelling in the background. Yeah, and this is where he reaches over the back of the sofa, jerks the gun out of Uncle Vernon's hands, and bent it into a knot as easily as if it had been made of rubber, and threw it into the corner of the room. And then Uncle Vernon made another funny noise, like a mouse being trodden on.
He's shitting his pants, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. And then he says, "Harry, I got something for you. It's your birthday, happy birthday." And he pulls out a cake out of his coat. He says he might have sat on it.
He keeps a lot of things in that coat.
Coat cake.
It's funny because even if it's kind of a crappy Ben sat on cake, it's still more than Harry was planning on having. So it's still good for him.
He's never had cake before. Not for his own birthday, anyway.
Right.
He just looks up at him and he's like, "Who are you?" And that's when Hagrid tells him, I'm Rubius Hagrid, keeper of the keys and grounds at Hogwarts.
It also says that he cooks tea and food from his pockets.
Yeah, he just pulled a bunch of shit out of there, didn't he?
He came in and started making food.
Yep.
Yeah, because he keeps wanting...
He pulled out sausages and a tea kettle.
Yeah, because he keeps being like, what about that tea? I wouldn't say no to something stronger if you got it. And everybody else in the room is just like, what the fuck?
I think he does it to kind of, like, obviously he wasn't really preparing for Vernon himself, but I think it's kind of to prove a point. I'm coming in for Harry. I'm doing this on my time. It's not on your time. I'm in charge now because Mr. Dursley has been, so intensely trying to get away from all of the contact that they have been making.
Do you think Hagrid thought that deeply into it, though? I mean, I like that. I like that thought. I do. But I also think that Hagrid is kind of one of those very rare, genuine people that just, like, very simple, but in the best way.
I think Hagrid just knows he's supposed to go get Harry. Like he's just doing what he needs to do. Yeah. I don't think he's trying to be scary, really. I guess that's kind of where I was headed. He just comes in, doesn't care that the door's locked, whatever. Comes in, starts a fire, I'm making food. Let's get this straight. Before anything happens, I'm gonna be warm, dry, and fed. Okay, now we can talk. And everybody else is freaking out because they don't know what's going on, and he's not worried about them. He's not trying to cause anybody harm. They're not trying to hurt him. He's just cooking food, and it's just very awkward for everybody else. But he's calm. He's chill. After he rips the door off.
Yeah.
And Harry seems very calm, nonchalant about it, and just says to him that he still doesn't really know who he is.
I do think that kind of does, like, go back to earlier when he was, like, hoping for some distant relation to come take him away. So, like, stranger?
He's thinking this is his moment.
Yeah, maybe he's not thinking, like, super deep into it yet, but, like, I'm not going to discount this weirdo coming and giving me a cake. All right, man.
Right. And he tells him again, I'm Hagrid, keeper of the keys and grounds at Hogwarts. And he's like, of course, all about Hogwarts. And he's like, what? And Hagrid kind of flips the lid because Harry doesn't know anything about Hogwarts at all. He had assumed that Harry would have known and been told all of this.
And he asks him, did you ever wonder where your parents learned it all? And Harry replies, learned what? And I think that sets him off even more a little.
I always laugh reading Hagrid. I don't know why. It makes me laugh to read him yell. Like, it should be intimidating, but it makes...
I feel like, movie or not, you can just deeply visualize the whole scene and what's going down. And when a big man is yelling, it's a little intimidating / funny.
Yeah, maybe it's just the whole Dursley versus Hagrid, like, the Dursleys are on the other side of it, like, oh, shit!
Right. And he turns on them.
Yeah.
Turns to him and says, you're telling me that he doesn't know anything.
And then Harry's like, Harry thought this was going a bit far. He had been to school after all. I know some things.
He can do math and such. So he starts telling him. And Vernon finally gets up the nerve, and he's telling him, you stop. You stop right there. He's had enough of it now. Let him go on for a minute, but now he's starting to tell him things that they don't want him to know.
Yeah, he said he said wizard. Big trigger for the Dursleys. They heard that word and went, oh no.
And he's starting to forbid Hagrid to keep going. And I think that's just a big no-no. We're not going to tell this man what he can and cannot do.
I love Hagrid's insult real quick. I love it. Go boil your heads.
And he's probably big enough to do it. Who are they to argue with him? And he's like, all right, here we go.
It's good.
And poor little Harry, he's a what? Like, he has no idea what is going on. And he's just being told he's a wizard. I'm not sure how I would take that either.
And then to have the letter given to you, like, the thing that has been escaping your grasp for the last chapter or so. And you finally have it in your hands with this dude who's giving you answers about yourself. And yeah, that would be pretty overwhelming.
In that beautiful emerald green writing, Mr. H. Potter, the floor, hut on the rock, the sea.
That's so much.
Once again, knowing exactly where he is, and that he has been accepted to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
I want to go back to a few episodes ago. In fact, the first episode, I think, when we were talking about the level of surveillance that's been on Harry, because that's really specific. And earlier it was like, okay, one room to the next room in the house. But now they found this place. Not only that, it's been written on a letter. So they knew where he was, like, the second he got there. Then the letter was given to Hagrid. Then Hagrid brought it to Harry. So, yeah, he surveilled pretty closely. And the fact that nobody had intervened, they did know exactly everything that was going on.
And, see, when I read the initial book, I think when I reread it, I assumed that this was Dumbledore's handwriting in the emerald green, which leads to Dumbledore, I guess Minerva signs it. Either way, one of them hand-wrote it, just like you were saying. Hand-wrote his address, hand-signed these letters, but they didn't know what was going on with Harry. They couldn't say anything, like...
And then it's not asking, but it's stating that they are waiting his owl.
Yeah.
They assumed him to have a means of communication. So even if he had gotten this letter in the first place, he would have had no way to respond. Because it didn't have an address on it. Or did it? When Petunia saw the letter, the very first letter, I think she makes a comment of, look at the address.
She says, should we respond? Should we send something back? And Vernon says, no, we should ignore it.
So they don't need to have an owl to communicate with whoever's sending the letters. They can send a letter.
I think that there'd have to be a way, but I wouldn't know. I mean, it doesn't explicitly say that. This is all speculation.
Right.
But yeah, and...
Hagrid pulls one out of his coat. He's just got an owl in there.
Yeah.
Right.
And he sends back response, giving Harry his letter.
Yeah, and then they're gonna go tomorrow to go get his things. Hagrid rolls up the notes, gives it to the owl. The owl takes off. Where was I? Said Hagrid, and also Jade, because she was a little lost.
It's very relatable. And this is when Uncle Vernon pipes up again. He's not going. They still are adamant that he's not going.
Vernon got his balls back.
And Hagrid calls him a muggle. First time Harry is hearing the word muggle.
Second time Vernon's hearing it, though.
Yeah, and the reader. Us.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's the second time we're hearing it. So, and then it gives us a nice explanation. This is a, very straightforward, for us, explanation. It's what we call non-magic folk like them. In case you hadn't picked it up yet. That's what that is. And then Uncle Vernon's like, we swore we'd stamp it out of him, wizard indeed. Like a big old bitch.
And then Harry gets a little bit of a voice, and he starts questioning them that you knew this about me, and you didn't tell me?
Right. He starts getting some answers to questions that he's had for a long time.
Questions he couldn't ask.
Right. He was never allowed to ask.
Hitting on 2 points that were already set way earlier.